Hola, buenos dias. Today we are going to be starting our new vocab for chapter 3a. This chapter, a little bit random, but we are talking about things that you might need when you are out in like the supermarket or when you're shopping or around town. Okay, so we have el banco. It's a bank. If you accidentally make this feminine la banca, that is a park bench. So make sure that you are aware that this has to be masculine. El centro is downtown. It's like the central center of the city. That's how I remember it. El consultorio is a doctor or a dentist's office. La estación de servicio, that's a service station, like a gas station. So pumping your own gas has not always been a thing. They used to have like full service gas stations, and so la estación de servicio is where you would go to get your gas. La farmacia is a pharmacy, and on this one, I always want to put an accent on the I and say la farmacia, because usually we have like carniceria, libreria, zapateria, panaderia. Usually when you have that RIA or you have that IA at the end of a word, you have a stress mark on the I. But la farmacia doesn't. We want to put the stress on this A, la farmacia. That's a pharmacy. El supermercado is a supermarket. El buzón is a mailbox. La carta is what you put in el buzón, that is a letter. Echar una carta, that is the action to mail a letter. El correo is the post office. I usually call it la oficina de correos, but just el correo if you want to be lazy. This post office, that term is what we're going to be using in this chapter. Enviar is to send, and that is an E or an I to an I with an accent when we conjugate it. And so we want that I to be the strongest vowel. A's are a little bit stronger than I's, so we will have an accent mark there. El sello is a stamp. La tarjeta, we've had tarjeta before, it's a card. Okay, next up, el equipo deportivo is sports equipment, and some sports equipment that we're going to have. El palo de golf, it's a golf club. Los patines, so patinar is to skate, so then we can kind of logically figure out los patines would be skates. Those are specifically like roller skates. Ice skates would be like los patines de hielo. Okay, la pelota is a ball, and this is going to be like a smaller size ball. This is going to be like a handheld size ball. If we're talking about like a foot or a basketball ball or a soccer ball, those are going to be called balón, el balón. And so it's a little bit different. La pelota is just a little bit smaller. So like a pelota would be what you'd use for like tennis or baseball or softball. La raqueta de tenis is a tennis racket. El cepillo de dientes is a toothbrush. Like I said, it's kind of a random list of vocab. El champú is shampoo, so that's a cognate. El jabón is soap. La pasta dental is toothpaste. La pasta by itself is pasta, so can't forget that dental. Cerrar, it's an E to IE stem changing verb. That's to close. Cobrar un cheque is to cash a check. You would do that in el banco. El or la dentista is a dentist. Dentista does not change for gender, so you're never going to have a dentisto. Anytime we have this ISTA ending, it can go for either masculine or feminine. So you have like dentista, periodista as a journalist, futbolista, a soccer player, dentista. So, which I know I already said. So anytime you have that ISTA ending, the only thing that changes is the definite article. And then obviously your adjectives would match the gender as well. But that word itself is not going to change. Devolver, which is an O to UE stem changer, is to return, and specifically to return something. So volver is to return, and then devolver is to return. So volver is for like when you, the person, are returning somewhere. Devolver is like to bring back, where you're bringing an object back. La gasolina, gasoline. Ir a pie is to go on foot. Llenar is to fill, and then since we're talking about like la estación de servicio and la gasolina, we have el tanque, which is the tank. So llenar el tanque, so to fill the tank. El médico or la médica is a doctor, and it is specifically a medical doctor. And so you'll have teachers and professors in college that are doctors, and you call them doctora or doctor or doctora. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they have any medical training. So I think of like a medical doctor. A medical doctor is going to make a medico, like a medic. Okay. Sacar is to check out or to take out, and so we have like devolver un libro and sacar un libro. Se abre, it opens, and se cierra, it closes. So, if this is what's called the passive voice, which means that like no one is specifically doing this action, but we're still talking about like an inanimate object. So like the bank opens at whatever time. So would you say like el banco se abre a las blah blah blah, okay? Or el banco se cierra a las 5. The bank closes at 5. But there's not a person that is doing the action. Like I close the door, I wouldn't use that say. But like the bank closes, the bank can't actually do anything. So that's when you use this say. Okay. Caramba, good gracious. That's just an exclamation. Casi is almost. Like, casi son las 5 y el banco va a cerrar. It's almost 5 and the bank is going to close. Okay, casi como no, of course. Enseguida, right away. Hasta, until, and we use hasta a lot right at the very beginning of Spanish 1. Hasta luego, hasta mañana, hasta la vista, until. Okay, and so then we have another one. I thought, okay, maybe it's coming later. Por is for, and it's used for like how long, and we will get into por versus para in the next chapter, like when to use which one. But if we're talking about a duration, we're going to use por. Pronto, that's where I was thinking. Pronto is soon, and so that's another hasta phrase. Hasta pronto, see you soon. Quedarse is to stay, and that one is reflexive. So quedar, we've had quedar before. And quedar can mean to fit if you use it with an indirect object pronoun, or it means to stay if you're using it with a reflexive pronoun. So that's where one of those things where if it's like me quedo, well, if you're using it as to fit, you're going to conjugate it like a gustar verb. So never mind. So you'll have to rely on context to decide if we're deciding if it's fit or to stay, and you'll look at the pronouns around it and how it's conjugated as well. Todavía means still. And then varios or varias means various or several. So that's a cognate. And then we have our direct object pronouns. We're getting DOPs again. Me, te, lo, la, nos, os, los, and las. So we'll be practicing with that. And then we're also going to get into our irregular preterite verbs. And we have a separate set of endings for our irregular preterite verbs. And those are iste, o, imos, istes, and then either ieron or eron. And we will talk more about those as we get to them. All right, let me know if you have any questions about the vocab. Have a lovely day. Adios.